Tell me and I'll forget. Teach me and I'll remember. But involve me and I'll learn. That quote by Benjamin Franklin completely captures why we should strive to make our presentations interactive. Because the more we can involve our audience, the more they learn, the more they become engaged, the more they become inspired to take action on our words. Now, my name's Kyle Murter. I'm a public speaking coach, champion, and author. And today I want to give you 5 ways you can interact with any audience, whether they be in person or online. And these 5 ways are going to rank from easiest to hardest. The first way is a simple raise of hands. This is simply when you say something like, raise your hand if you're afraid of public speaking. And this works really well in big audiences when lots of hands come up, because it creates a feeling of, oh, we're all in this together. Oh, we all have this same problem or this same challenge, and it brings a bit of unity to the group. But you want to make sure that you only go for a raise of hands if you're sure you will get a lot of hands going up. For example, you don't want to ask this. Raise your hand if you dream about being a mermaid. That probably won't get a lot of hands up, and people might think that you're a weirdo, which you might be. The second way is to create opinion polls. Now, these work brilliantly online. You can create a question with a few different options for your audience to select, and then you can reveal the results of the poll in real time for your audience. Again, it creates a little bit of interest around the topic, it gives you a gauge of what everybody's opinions are in the crowd, and then you can direct your session from there. You can also do opinion polls in person with systems like Mentimeter, where the audience will scan a QR code on their phone and then they'll fill it out while they're in the audience. The key is, whether it's in person or online, make sure you know how to use your poll really well. Because there's nothing worse than you figuring out how to operate the opinion poll while the audience are waiting for you. It's terrible, it looks unprofessional, and it'll make people tired before they even get to your question. And that's a nice transition to the third way you can interact. Ask a question. This is when you say something like, what do you think we can do to feel less nervous before a presentation? And then someone in your audience puts their hand up and answers your question. And this is a great way to get people thinking in the room. Instead of just giving them the answers, help them come up with the answers themselves. Of course, the main concern is, what if no one responds to your question? What do you do then? Well, in that scenario, you've got 2 options. Option 1 is you wait until they break. But seriously, if you wait 5-10 seconds, usually someone in the audience chimes up and you get an answer. So if you know the people in the audience, you could say, Jim, what do you think the answer is? Or Bethany, what are your thoughts on this? And now Jim or Bethany are going to reply to you at least and begin the conversation in the room. Asking an open question to the room is more scary and is more challenging, but it's well worthwhile because it gets the audience fully engaged and thinking about the content of your presentation. The fourth way to interact is to create group discussions. This is where you say something like, right, I want you to partner up with the person beside you, and for 60 seconds, I want you to discuss what you could do to feel more calm before public speaking. And this works fantastically well because it gets everyone interacting with each other in the room. It lifts the energy and creates a bit of a buzz in the room, and people feel more comfortable sharing and speaking up after they've had a conversation with their partner. My top tip for this would be to limit the time you give them to discuss. If you just say, okay, have a discussion, and you don't say how long they've got to discuss, you might find that they talk about other things outside of your topic before they get on task. But if you say, look, I'm only going to give you 60 seconds to discuss this, so stay on task, and then we'll come back in and we'll come around the room and see what you came up with. That makes your audience a lot more focused and they're a lot more likely to utilize the time that you're giving them. The fifth and final way to get people to interact is to get them to present in your presentation. For example, you could say, now that we've discussed how to overcome our nerves, I would love to give you a chance to practice your speaking. So who would like to come up here and just for 1 minute talk about what you enjoy doing in your spare time as a hobby? No pressure, everything to gain, a supportive environment, just a place for you to practice. Who wants to give it a go? And this gives people the opportunity to have the full spotlight in your presentation. Now, I've shown you an example with a public speaking workshop in mind, but this can work well at a meeting too. If you're having a meeting for your work, maybe you can get different people in the meeting to present different parts. Therefore, the whole team feel like they have been involved in creating this entire presentation instead of just sitting at the sidelines. Now, of course, this is the hardest form of interaction to pull off because there's a lot of nerves and anxiety around speaking out there. So you've got to be very encouraging if you're going to use this technique. Reassure people that they're not going to be judged heavily, that this is a safe place for them to speak, and we want to hear their point of view. And if you can do that, they're going to go up there, they're going to do a great job, they're going to feel good about themselves, and they'll feel good about your presentation as well. And then that's what they'll talk about with their peers and their colleagues. Now, in order to pull off these 5 different interactive techniques, you are going to need a confident sounding voice. Here's a video with a few tips on how to sound more confident for your next presentation. Check it out.